Mr. Speaker, I rise today to offer an amendment on an issue that's critical to livestock producers, not just in my state and my district, but across the whole country. Last year, a group of folks in my area, environmental activists, sued several dairies in the Yakima Valley in Washington state, claiming that the dairies were responsible for open dumping under the Resources Conservation and Recovery Act of 1976, or is most commonly referred to as RCRA, because of storage and management issues on their farms. The big issue is what law the activists were suing the dairies under. There are many laws and regulations, both at the state and federal level, which are appropriate mechanisms for protecting and ensuring our nation's waters are kept clean. But the problem I see is that RCRA is not one of them. RCRA was a law designed to govern solid wastes and prevent open dumping. The major application of this law is regulating landfills. It was never intended to regulate animal waste. In fact, the EPA in its initial 1979 regulations for RCRA expressed that the law, quote, does not apply to agricultural waste, including manure and crop residue, returned to the soil as fertilizers or soil conditioners. I don't know how much clearer we can get that manure storage and handling were not intended to be governed under this law. Unfortunately, though, a federal judge in Spokane, Washington, agreed with the group and stretched the definition of solid waste to apply to manure nitrates, contrary to the law and federal regulatory code, and held the dairies responsible for open dumping because of how they stored and handled animal wastes. Mr. Speaker, my amendment does nothing to prevent EPA from enforcing the current regulations under RCRA. It does nothing to change the Clean Water Act rulemakings, nor does it prevent EPA from issuing or enforcing Clean Water Act regulations. All my amendment does is prevent EPA from issuing and expanding new regulations under RCRA that would reflect the interpretation of this current law. Mr. Speaker, no one is saying that livestock producers, like every American, don't share in the responsibility of good stewardship of our environment and our resources. They certainly do. But there are appropriate laws and regulations intended to govern this, and there are ones that are not appropriate for this purpose. Simply piling additional layers of regulation on producers and giving activists new litigation tools to target our nation's farmers and ranchers is not what Congress had in mind when passing the Resources Conservation and Recovery Act. We as Congress have a responsibility to make that clarification, and that's what I'm seeking to do with this amendment. Thank you, and I reserve the balance of my time.